What's poppin', everybody? Cerebral4. We're gonna go in deep once again today. I'm gonna give you guys my top 10 legendary Pokemon encounters. I've been meaning to make this video for a long while, thinking about this, and it's hard, man. It's really gonna be hard to squeeze in 10 encounters from all of the great legendary Pokemon encounters we had in all the games, mostly the old ones. Now, I do want to stress this is about the legendary encounter itself. I'm talking about genuine epicness, majesty, striking fear in your heart in a way. Of course, it's gonna involve around the actual legendary Pokemon itself, how cool it is, how much I like it. But it's more about the setting, the location, the encounter itself, maybe the lore behind the Pokemon, the lore behind the encounter, the means you had to go through to get there, and any other cool thing regarding that, like the music. We're gonna factor in everything. So, like I've said, this is very hard. There's a lot of legendaries that and encounters that I wish I could include, but it's just really too hard. I mean, there's already 2 ties in this top 10, to be honest. Gonna give you guys that right now, and I'll go over the honorable mentions after the list. So for number 10, we're gonna go back all the way to Red, Blue, and Yellow, Fire and Leaf Green. Number 10 is going to be the almighty Mewtwo. Now, I know you guys are probably pissed hearing about Mewtwo being at the number 10 spot, but remember, this isn't about how boss and strong the legendary Pokemon is itself. It's more about the encounter as well. You find Mewtwo at the Cerulean Cave. You can easily, as soon as you get Surf, you can access that area, and you always see that dude not letting you get into the cave, telling you that the Pokemon in there are very powerful. And it's almost like Mewtwo is like that gangster, that boss, like in that area in a city that's, the dangerous area you're not supposed to go. Like he runs the gangs in there, like he's like a mafia boss or something, like a Yakuza dude, because it is indeed, you find the strongest Pokemon over at Cerulean Cave, the highest levels. In Yellow, you find all sorts of just a lot of variety that doesn't even make sense. You find shit like Venomoth in there, things like Victreebel and Gloom as well. You get all of the strong Pokemon like Rhydon too, Sandslash, and it really is some sort of he's like the boss of that entire area. It's almost like he owns the entire Kanto region, and that's like his spot from where he reigns from. It's really good. And when you go into the cave, it's dark, it's deep, and the more you go in deep, the more you sort of get away from safety as you get even closer to Mewtwo itself. And it's a cool encounter, I gotta admit that. It's not the coolest for sure, but it definitely deserves being in the top 10. The music, Mewtwo's music theme is kind of standard. There's nothing really other spectacular. Of course, it's a broken Pokemon, the strongest Pokemon, highest level encounter in the game. And, it really is, Mewtwo is chill like that. Like, you quickly get access to the Cerulean Cave. Like, as soon as you make it to Cerulean City, you're instantly greeted with that cave. You can see it. You can see that there's a cave there. You can see there's a dude there. And when you get Surf, you make it there. It doesn't let you. You gotta beat the Pokemon League to get in there. So it's almost like Mewtwo is like, really, yeah, I'm right here. Nobody's gonna dare come in here unless you want to die. So yeah, it's cool. Like, imagine making yourself deep inside that cave and really dark, and then you're facing off against, Mewtwo though. Both in the Red, Blue, and Yellow. At least in Yellow, I never experienced Mewtwo in Red and Blue, but in Yellow and in Fire and Leaf Green, it's a great encounter. So Mewtwo at number 10 definitely deserves that. Right. Next up, we're going to go to the first tie, and it is going to be Kyurem, the first one. And I'm talking about the Kyurem in Black and White, the Giant Chasm encounter in the first games. So Kyurem is actually a really cool Pokemon in my opinion. I like it very much. The design is perfectly fine. A lot of people think it's shit, but I think it's a good designed Pokemon. Of course, it's not on the level of something like Dialga, Palkia, Groudon, Kyogre. You guys know, but as a Dragon Ice Pokemon, it looks cool enough. And This is a very good encounter, to be honest. In the original Black and White, as soon as you get into the post game and you get into that city, I don't remember, you start hearing all those rumors about this dragon Pokemon that fell from space, like some sort of in a meteor or something, and everybody has to go inside their houses at night because that Pokemon is going to come out and eat anybody that's out and shit. So it really just has that sort of cool lore behind it. You don't know anything about the Pokemon besides that. And once you get into the area, the giant chasm is a big wide field. Looks really cool, to be honest. The journey there is really slick. And as you get closer to Kyurem, the whole area turns into snow. He's like makes a blizzard or some shit. Is like giving you the warning to get the fuck out while you can. And it's a really good encounter, to be honest. Fighting this Pokemon fell from Meteor Dragon. It's slick. Now it doesn't go higher on this list because a couple of reasons. They could have made it a lot cooler. If I have to be honest with you. Like you meet this Pokemon. Its music theme is cool as well, but the area in the cave where you fight it could have used a little bit of work. They could have done something a lot cooler. Like maybe you fight it in that sort of a giant sort of crater or something. That would have been cool. But the other reason why it's not so high on this list is because once you fight it and when you catch it, it doesn't really meet the, strike fear in your heart requirement. Like you would think that after you fight this Pokemon, you find this Pokemon, it's going to be some sort of epic fight, like you're dealing with a monster, but Kyurem is kind of a weakling. Of course, that's because, it does the whole fusion thing in Black and White too. I've never been a fan of that whole shit. Not explained very well, but whatever. Kyurem's encounter is cool enough. I like it. And Kyurem is actually tied with Ho-Ho right here. The Ho-Ho encounter from the Fire and Leaf Green and Emerald event. Of course, it's cool when you catch him in Gold and Silver, but I'm talking about the Naval Rock event here. Now, there's not a lot of great things about this. I mean, there are a couple if I'm tying it number 9 with Kyurem. But once again, it could have done a lot of work. Now, first of all, I'm including this because it's fucking Ho-Ho. On its own is a very majestic, epic sort of Pokemon, giant ass bird, super cool. Now the event, this is going back into the GBA days, Game Boy Advance days. There were no Wi-Fi. If you had to, these event legendaries were really hard for people to actually perform. Like you actually had to be in the location where they were doing the event or something, and they would transfer it with a link cable and shit. It's so very, very few of us experienced those events, especially for people like me in Cyprus. They were basically like urban legends, like really. Didn't experience them. At best, you had access to the little event through YouTube way back in the day where YouTube was at its infancy. It's actually like a truly mythical thing. Now, the encounter itself is really good. You get to Naval Rock through the event. You can catch both Lugia and Ho-Ho in this area. You climb on top, a bunch of staircases, really getting closer and closer to the top, kind of epic. And then when you get there at the top of the mountain, Ho-Ho descends from the sky. That's super cool, you gotta admit that. Like, imagine yourself, fantasize yourself fighting Ho-Ho, like as it descends from the sky, you're on top of that little small mountain, close to the sky, and you're fighting, this sort of giant bird Pokemon. It definitely makes for an epic fight. Battling it so high up in the mountain is cool. Now, a big complaint I have with this battle, and what ruins it kind of for me and makes it be on number 9 here as opposed to higher, is that the background during the battle, you basically have the typical sort of cave background, like when you fight Pokemon in caves. And that just really kills the vibe. I mean, we're supposed to be battling high in the sky here. They should have went with some sort of original background during the battle, but instead we get that sort of a cave background. And I guess you're in a cave, you're high up on top, but you got in a cave originally, and there's mountains surrounding the area, but it's not super cool. It kind of kills the vibe. And also, this isn't the original way you get Ho-Ho. Originally, you get Ho-Ho in the Burnt Tower and Heart in Gold and Silver Crystal. You guys know that shit. So, yeah. But Ho-Ho is still very good. Tying up with Kyurem because I couldn't decide. They're both kind of epic in their own way, but they kind of dropped the ball too. They could have been even better, but they did make it in this list. So next up, we got the legendary birds, all of them from, once again, red, blue, and yellow, fire and leaf green, especially fire and leaf green because of a significant change. Now, the legendary birds, I think I would say Articuno is the best implemented, but I'm including all of them because they've all have their own epicness. Articuno gets special mention because, you see it through the goggles, so like you see through the goggles in one of those posts where you change routes, and it says, oh, this Pokemon seems to be in that direction, and you have a basic idea, but you're not really sure, of course. And then you get into the Seaform Islands. You got to go through some shit, go deep in the caves, make that little puzzle where you got to stop the currents, and then you find it right there. And all of the legendary birds, they're basically, all of the areas are optional. You basically get almost no hints throughout the game. You just know, I think there's like a couple of trainers that might mention them, like one of the bird keepers says that, the legendary bird Pokemon are these three, and we would kill, bird keepers like us would kill to see them and shit. But that's all you get. Optional areas, like I've said, and, really, really epic encounters when you think about it. Zapdos, you find that Pokemon in the power plant. Articuno, like I've said, is in the Seaform Islands. And then Moltres encounter in the OG games, yellow and red and blue. It's not so great. It's kind of the shittier of the three. Now in Fire and Leaf Green though, they fixed that very, very nicely. It's an optional area, I believe in Island 1 in the Sevi Islands. Island number 1. Pretty sure, I think it's Island number 1 or 3. Yeah, you gotta go high up in the mountain, get through some shit to get there, get through some puzzles, and it's a really cool, not ho-ho level encounter, but I think it fits better. You fight Moltres on top of that mountain. It just makes a good fit, a really nice encounter. So they fixed that nicely. So legendary birds, number 8, it's good. If you think about it, they do everything right for this encounter to be great, but I don't know, just something about them doesn't make them stand out compared to their competition, to be honest. They're good little legendary encounters for a legendary trio, but they're also kind of simple in a way. I don't know. It just seems like they're cool, but just for this sort of level, not to be in the top cut. All right. Next up, we've got number 7, and it's going to be the Lake Guardians from Diamond and Pearl and Platinum. Now, it might be weird. The Lake Guardians, they're basically on plain sight. You just find them in their lake caves. They're also implemented in the story. They have a lot to do with the story through the game. So you're basically, at some point, you're aware of their existence entirely. You get to see them. You get to save them from Team Galactic 2 in the labs. So it just seems like they don't have that majesty that the legendary birds have, but they make for better encounters. Like, even though you get them in the lake caves, you find them over there and they're just sitting there in plain sight almost. But even though it's such a simple encounter, it just works. Like, it really works and makes them seem more epic than even the legendary birds. Once you get into the lakes, they've got this sort of majestic music, that really chill music. Definitely, letting you know, there's some epic shit going that can go down here. And when you get into the actual caves of the Lake Guardians, you're greeted with that sort of lake symbol, that specific lake symbol that just really makes the area seem sort of really cool. Like, really, this is some ancient temple shit. And the music in the sort of caves, it almost seems like you're marching into your death. Like, it strikes fear in your heart. And if you take that sort of cave out of context, like, let's say you didn't know you get them like in a simple, you just go into the area, surf into the cave, and then you get there. If you take that out of context, the caves where when you find them and you fight them, they're just really epic. Like some sort of ancient temple shit. Heavy shit is gonna go down. Their music, of course, sends chills to your spine. Awesome as music. And they're really, the pixies, the Lake Guardians, this is epic. I don't know, it's just, they stand out to me more than the legendary birds, even though legendary birds are super cool. Even though it's a simple encounter, it just works. And that's a real testament to their greatness because you got to remember they're tied into the story, and even though they're tied into the story and then you know where to find them, you know where they are, and it's just simple, you just show up there, it just still, they pulled it off as being super cool, super epic. You know, of course, Mesprit out of the three also becomes a roaming Pokemon after you find it. You don't get to fight it in the cave, and you know that's kind of cool as well. You know, you has its own music, the Lake Guardian music when you fight it in the grass, and that always scared the shit out of me when I was young and I was trying to find it in the grass. Just a lot of cool shit like that. So the Lake Guardians, I can't quite put my finger on it, but they're excellent, great encounters, man. Really epic encounters, striking fear in your heart. And they just work, even though they're simple encounters where you just can go show up there and fight them. They just work. I don't know how to explain it. Epic. Okay, now we'll get into the deep shit. This is gonna be my second tie. It was hell, but I have to fit both of these. I just had to. It's number 6. It's going to be Shaman and Cresselia. Shaman is super cool. It's an event, Diamond and Pearl. And to get there, you gotta go through an optional area in Victory Road. And it is kind of almost secretive. Like if you play the game the first time and you have no idea about Diamond and Pearl, and you start, you know, straying away from the Victory Road, and you get into this area, you might be thinking, man, I'm getting into some shit here. Maybe there's a legendary Pokemon, some sort of a hidden Pokemon here. And you'd be right. You get outside, you get into this sort of beach area, and the Shaman event itself, it really stands out to me because once it's activated and you get that giant flower paradise, that giant sort of a bridge area filled with flowers, it changes the whole map completely. Like, check the Diamond and Pearl map before the event and after the event, and it's crazy. Like, that sort of humongous change in the map just really makes this event stand out to me. You know, Flower Paradise, of course, is super cool, and then you get into the final sort of a flower area where Shaman just hangs around. It's just really simple. It doesn't have any special music, but it's just the little hedgehog is special like that for me. The whole event is cool, and it involves Professor Oak too, but that doesn't really matter. It's just the whole Flower Paradise thing that's really epic to me. So yeah, Shaman, it's just the whole event itself is quite majestic, quite epic. I really just think it's awesome. Now, this ties into Cresselia too. Cresselia is awesome, man. As a Pokemon, Cresselia is just super epic. Like imagine Cresselia's design, this sort of giant. It's not really big, but if you don't know anything about it and you look at it like in the Pokedex or something, imagine this sort of space Pokemon giant sort of a majestic creature. It's quite epic. And really, Cresselia gets a lot of points because of its connection with Darkrai. You know, but once you get into the Full Moon Island, you get into the little forest where it just hangs around there, you know, on its own, so far away from the Sinnoh region. It's quite epic, opposite of Darkrai's island in a way. It's quite epic. Once you talk to it, it gets the fuck out, and then it becomes a roaming Pokemon. And like the Latis in Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald, it doesn't have its own special music, so you might just think you found a regular Pokemon in the wild, and then you find Cresselia. And it gives some sort of other type of epicness compared to Mesprit. Of course, it's super cool because of the lore, the whole story with the kid that you gotta give the Lunar Wing, otherwise it's gonna die being asleep, and you know the sailor takes you there. It really just has a lot of epicness going for it. I just couldn't make the list without Cresselia. Once again, it's a simple encounter like the Lake Guardian Trio, but it just works. Like once you get into the ship, you travel with the sailor dude, and you get into the forest, you find Cresselia, and then it majestically flies away, leaving the Lunar Wing. It's awesome like that. Of course, I gotta give it a few points as well, even though Black and White 2 has nothing to do with the actual encounter. That whole thing is fly as well. In Black and White 2, you get a different sort of take in the story between Darkrai and Cresselia. You know, you got the whole thing with you meet Cresselia on the bridge, is disguised as a human, and it's a nice little event, in-game event. Their connection in Black and White 2 as well, where you gotta save this kid that Darkrai, You know, just keeps tricking, feasting on his dreams and shit. So very, very good stuff. Cresselia, excellent. Another great encounter. Becoming a roaming Pokemon too. Epic, majestic Pokemon. You cannot go wrong with that. Okay, now we're getting into the top 5. So shit is getting really deep. Number 5, of course, is going to be the Reggie Trio. Man, oh man, these guys, everything about them is just awesome. So the Reggie Trio, basically, you probably have to go through the most shit to activate these guys and get to fight them. In order to even access their caves, you have to go through a really secret area underwater that's very missable, optional area, and you need to have like specific shit with you as well. Like you gotta have Relicanth and Wailord in a specific order in your party, both of which are kind of hard Pokemon to access to. Relicanth is a very rare fish Pokemon you have to find underwater. And Wailord, I mean, you can find it through Surf, I believe, but it's hell to find that Pokemon. So you gotta evolve, you gotta catch a Wilmer and evolve into it, your best bet, and that takes up some time. You know, it evolves at level 40. You can probably find, you know, Wilmers at level 35 and shit, but you know, you still gotta put in a little bit of work. And then you need to have Dig, and once you activate the chambers, you know, the caves are now opened up. You gotta get into the caves, you gotta do some extra shit inside the caves for the final gates to open, and then you get to fight the Reggie Trio. And all this is through Braille, the Braille language that blind people have to use. You gotta sort of decode that shit yourself and do all these things to access these Pokemon. Now the locations themselves, they're really good. Besides Registeel, which is also, I mean, the area where Registeel is kind of optional too, like you can completely ignore it. But I guess it is in plain sight in a way. But Regirock, you gotta go all the way down in the Desert Ruins, the desert area in Gen 3. And then Regice is even more sort of missable. You gotta through an optional surf area and get into the island cave and get there. And you know, these Pokemon are just awesome. Their designs, of course, are awesome. They really look like some sort of alien man-made Pokemon that just will fuck you up. Their music theme is exclusive to them, super epic, super scary, and like even the Reggie Chamber music theme, you know, they get that bonus too. So just everything about them is just screams creativity, you know, screams effort to find them, access them, and fight them. And then if we get into the Regigigas shit, it gets even more interesting, as these Pokemon are supposed to be the sort of puzzle guardians to prevent you from getting into Regigigas, which is another man-made Pokemon that's supposed to be able to be so strong it can destroy entire continents, you know, move entire continents and shit. Now, Regigigas, even though it's super cool design-wise and lore-wise, it kind of sucks because of that fucking slow start ability, but I'm not gonna go into that. They could have made it a lot more epic, tying it into the Reggie Trio. But the Reggie Trio, of course, it's just super awesome. To be honest, I can't believe that these are only at number 5, but their competition, their competition above them is just really tight. It's just really top dog, so they gotta be at number 5. Speaking of which, let's go into number 4 so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Number 4 is none other than the Darkrai event itself. I don't even know where to begin with this one. It's so sick, it's so epic. As soon as you get into Canalave City, you find this house where you can't go the fuck in. You know, the sign over there, it's kind of fucked up. You can't exactly read the whole thing. You only get like a few words. So it just, your imagination is already, you know, in full effect, imagining what the fuck is going on here. Because in Pokemon games, like even in the Gen 3 games, I think there's in other gens before it as well, you always get this sort of game where there's this sort of door or this sort of place where you can't get the fuck in. And in Diamond and Pearl, it was this Canalave house there. You can't get the fuck in no matter what you do. But it's because it is the Darkrai event. Now, as soon as you get the Darkrai event, I believe the event item was the secret key, you get access into that area. And once you go in, you get this sort of creepy music. There's a dude immediately trying to put you to sleep. Basically a dude either manipulated by Darkrai, or maybe it's Darkrai itself fucking disguises that dude. I don't think so. I think it's just some dude manipulated by Darkrai. Maybe it's even an illusion. Puts you to sleep, and then you fucking go. You wake up. on the damn ship, and you get into the fucking island where Darkrai is. You get that creepy music once again, and even though Darkrai is just sitting there, in the forest, in the little lake there, just sitting there, the whole encounter, it's just fucking sick, fucking epic, amazing. You fight Darkrai, you get that sort of a Dominant Pearl Sinnoh music for legendary Pokemon, but it just almost seems like this theme is meant for him. What makes it really epic for me, this event, but besides everything that I just mentioned, is that Darkrai, is so far away on the map. It's almost he's out of Sinnoh basically, and it's in this little location. They're almost like it's fucking ruling, controlling everything. Like it's isolated on its own, but it's like the whole region is on his fingertips. Like he's the fucking secret king of the whole damn place in a way. Kind of like Mewtwo, what I said with Mewtwo in the beginning. Only this is just more secretive, more epic. He's over there, so far away on its own. Opposite of that island is fucking Cresselia. And it's just, the connection is just so awesome. Only made better by Darkrai. And the other cool thing that's just really awesome about this dude is that in the Japanese Diamond and Pearl games, I'm pretty sure it's only the Japanese games, you can actually perform a glitch and get to Darkrai without even making the event. Like you can do some sort of glitch in the Elite Four in the first chamber or something, and then you get to walk, you get to fuck up the game and sort of walk, surf throughout the whole screen, and then get to his cave, go inside, and you can actually fight Darkrai. And that's super epic. I remember when I saw this shit way back in the day on YouTube, and just crazy. Just think about if you had to like surf and walk there, just how far away you gotta go to get into this guy's island. It's just super fly, super epic. Just all of these things together. Its connection with Cresselia, of course, the event itself scaring you shitless, and all of the other mysteries surrounding Darkrai. Like before this sort of event happened, just all of this speculation about this dude and everything. Man, it's just top dog. Of course, Darkrai on its own is a super cool Pokemon, really scary Pokemon. The whole concept about it, needing to eat, needing to feast on your dreams, give you nightmares in order to survive. It's super fly. Darkrai event, you really can't go wrong with this legendary encounter right here. And now we get into the top three. If there's one sort of dark dude, ghost dude, scary dude that can outclass Darkrai, it's gonna be fucking Giratina. So it was very difficult for me to decide on the top. Basically, the top two were easy. Just going through the top three and lower, it was hard. But I feel like Giratina really deserves to be top three. Now, I'm specifically talking about the original Diamond and Pearl encounter here in Turnback Cave. All the stuff with the Distortion World and everything with the Giratina and Platinum is super fly. But nothing beats the original encounter, in my opinion, where we don't know shit about this Pokemon really. You sort of find out about it for the first time. The area where it's located, it's an optional area. Once again, you can easily miss it. You can easily not go there because it's basically locked up. You can't, it's just a bunch of trees, and then once you beat I think you get the national dex. Yeah, you beat the game, you get the national dex, the whole forest area opens up. You go there, there's a lot of fog, you get through a lot of shit to get into his actual sort of cave, which is fucking scary as fuck, man. This big sort of maze, labyrinth-ass temple place. You don't know where the fuck you're going. You don't know where the fuck you are. You don't know how to get back. You don't know how to move forward. You just gotta aim, almost wander aimlessly, basically, until you find it, and then get the fuck out and use an escape rope. It's your only way. You just want to find it, get the fuck out. You find some strong Pokemon there, Bronzongs, a bunch of ghost Pokemon like Haunter, the fucking Golbats. There's all the fog. Outside of the cave, you get that sort of bridge where it's just half destroyed, a sort of abandoned, creepy area. And it's just really fly, man. Once you get into Giratina, this sort of giant, almost like a dinosaur Pokemon with 6 legs. Fucking damn, man, just super epic. Imagine fighting this giant ass Pokemon in this sort of temple area, with all the fog and shit. It's fucking epic encounter. Fucking Giratina is fucking epic. Once again, you get that sort of Sinnoh DP legendary encounter music that's really fitting for this situation. And it's just, I really just can't say any more shit. Everything I've said is just the reason why Giratina is at number 3 here. You know, it really just has what the Kyurem encounter misses. You know, you find this giant ass dragon Pokemon, but then he doesn't disappoint you in scaring the shit out of you, being a hard fight, being an epic fight, being a big guy that you just either fighting to survive or you're just fighting to catch these fucking awesome Pokemon. And that's all I gotta say about that. Giratina, super awesome. I think it is very fitting to be the top 3 on this list. And now the last 2, in my opinion, they should be perfectly obvious, but maybe I'll surprise you. Of course, for number 2, we have none other than Arceus himself, the god of Pokemon himself. Man, oh man, man, oh man, the whole Arceus event in Diamond and Pearl has got to be some of the most epic ass shit. Like it's definitely the most epic event in all of Pokemon in general. I have to be honest with you guys. It's the top event. Nothing really tops this. Not even Darkrai, not even anybody else. The whole thing with this Pokemon is the god of Pokemon first and foremost. The Hall of Origin where this dude is located, this is basically on top of Mount Coronet where you fight Dialga and Palkia. And you never would have known that on top of this shit you can get access into the sort of almost like paradise area, and then you walk through the bridge and this guy is on top there. Almost is like a secret dude there. It's just fucking epic, man. You go through a lot of shit to get into on top of the top of the mountain of Mount Coronet. You go through a lot of shit. There's snow, there's cool music, there's a bunch of strong Pokemon. Of course, there's the whole Team Galactic final showdown and shit. You get all through that, so you're on top of this big ass mountain. And if you get there once again with the Azure Flute, you know, climb up all of the mountain. This time you're all alone. There's no galactic grunts in your way. It's just the whole mountain is basically isolated. You're the only dude going there, getting further and further, deeper and deeper, higher and higher. And then you go through the shit. You get there with the Azure Flute. You activate the Arceus event. You get on top. You climb on the bridge into this sort of celestial, you know, fucking floor. You fight this dude. Highest level in all of the games. Highest stat total. God of Pokemon. His own epic ass music. You cannot go wrong with this epic ass event. It just really is untoppable, and you know, it almost makes me sad that this guy isn't number 1, but I had to put somebody else at number 1. I mean, maybe Arceus is number 1, but I gotta go with the actual number 1 here, which we shall get into right now. So Arceus, super awesome, epic encounter. They really don't make them like they used to. And that number 1 will be none other than the fucking epic dragon itself. Fucking Rayquaza, motherfucker. So, the whole Rayquaza encounter in Ruby and Sapphire, not Emerald. The shit with Emerald, of course, it's cool. But once again, in the original Ruby and Sapphire, kind of like how Giratina works, how Kyurem works, where you basically don't know shit and then you just, it's completely optional to find this Pokemon, has nothing to do with the story. It's fucking epic. The area where you go through, the route to Pacific Lock Town, the area to get into Rayquaza is locked up. You go through there, you won't find jack shit. Once you beat the Pokemon League, it just completely changes, but it's not even obvious. Like you just gotta go through that area, and it's just so missable. Like you gotta get lucky to find it. You just gotta travel there and just notice the difference. You go through that little short surf route, you travel a little bit, you get into this fucking tower, and then you're like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this shit? And you get into the actual cave, actually. You go there, and then you climb, you find the tower, there's like sort of desert in the tower there. You enter the tower, and then you go through this giant ass big tower filled with strong Pokemon. You gotta use your bicycle, do some shit to, you gotta do some shit to actually get into Rayquaza. Like the whole puzzle thing, the combos that you gotta do with the bicycle and not fuck up with the Mac bike. It's kind of fucked up. Like when we were kids, it wasn't easy to even get into Rayquaza. Like do that shit and get into the dude. You actually had to make a few tries. But you go through the fucking tower, you climb on top, you get higher and higher and higher. there's this sort of a giant hole in the middle like you can fall into or some shit. Damn. And then you get into Rayquaza on top of the tower, super high in the sky pillar, and he's just sitting there. You know, you see the sort of blue background behind him, which is the sky, and then you just wonder, you know, what the fuck could be even higher than that. You know, you just your imagination goes wild, but you're really just on top of this whole sky there, and you know, thanks to the GBA graphics of the Game Boy Advance games back then, you know, that sort of sky almost looks like it's like a sea or something, like a sort of lake or whatever. And it just really, your fantasy goes wild, man. And then you fight fucking Rayquaza, this giant dragon ass Pokemon, super epic, super high in the sky. And it is, in my opinion, the top encounter. It's just, you don't know shit about it. There's only one dude in the whole game, I think, that when you talk to him in, I think it was the town doesn't come to my mind right now. In Winona, where Winona is the gym leader. I think it was called, I can't remember the name now. When I'm talking like this, I can't remember. But there's the dude that says, you know, for once I saw this giant ass green dragon Pokemon, and it just really looked stronger than, you know, anything I'd seen. Even the champions Pokemon look kind of shitty, or some shit like that. And that's all you get. Like, it's really all you get. And I think in Pacific Lock Town, there's one more dude that says might say something about Rayquaza, but that's it. Everything else is on you to find it. And you find this Pokemon. It's fucking hell to catch because it can use Fly and make itself not being able to. You can't use a ball when it's in the sky, I think, or some shit. Or I think it actually works. I don't remember. Either way, and it uses Rest, making it hell for you to catch. At level 170, it's the strongest Pokemon throughout the whole game. I mean, even the Stevens Pokemon, they're not as strong. The highest level is 58 Metagross. You cannot go wrong with that shit, man. So Rayquaza, maybe if you think Arceus is a better encounter, you know, that's on you. But in my opinion, Rayquaza is my number one as the most epic, excellent, legendary encounter in Pokemon games. And indeed, like I've said with Arceus, they just don't make them like they used to. You know, all of these encounters that I mentioned, they're super fly. There's a few other ones that I really dug. The Necrozma encounter in the original Sun and Moon, I thought it was kind of cool, where you find that dude chilling in the grass in 10 Karat Hill. Then some other ones that are really good are the, what's it called? I forgot. The Guardians in Sun and Moon as well. They're good Pokemon, but the encounters, they didn't just implement them the right way, in my opinion. Especially, you know, Tapu Fini. Tapu Bulu just might be the best encounter in that game, I'd say. The most thought out encounter. What else do we have here? Other things like Regigigas. Regigigas, of course, is super fly, but I mean, it just could have been even more fly, to be honest. They just really they needed to make him even more epic, since it's a Pokemon that can destroy continents and shit. But yeah. And other than that, I mean, Virizion in Black and White 2 is kind of nice. Cobalion 2, you could say, in that sort of cave in Driftvale City, after Driftvale City. There's a bunch of good encounters in other games too, but I think the ones that I mentioned here are really the top of all. I didn't really mention any roaming Pokemon besides the ones that had to do with other Pokemon too, but roaming Pokemon are sort of a different animal, but of course all of them are fly. The dogs, the Latis, kind of fly, but they're basically function like regular encounters in the wild, so yeah. Nice. So these are my top 10 legendary Pokemon encounters, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm really passionate about this shit. I just really hope we don't get disappointed with Sword and Shield, but to be honest, I mean, at this point, I think the way they made old school games is over. They're not gonna do shit like that anymore. Other events like Deoxys, is a cool event, but you should have been able to fight him in space. The same with Jirachi. You know, you do that whole shit with a rocket, not just fight him in Birth Island. But that's just me. Of course, his music is cool, but yeah. And everything else, there's a lot of cool shit, like the new event was cool as well in Emerald, but they just didn't make the cut. The ones that I mentioned here, I think are the top best. But anyways, I rambled long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and bear it with me. Hope you guys subscribe, leave a like, and share this with your friends. Thank you guys for watching as always, and I'll see you on the next TCG video this time. Sabrovine 4, we'll see ya.